For 9 seasons and a string of beloved television movies, one family taught America what it meant to endure with grace. On a mountain in Virginia, through the Great Depression and the Second World War, the Waltons showed us hard work, forgiveness, and the quiet strength of loved ones gathered under one roof, ending each night with a chorus of goodnights drifting from window to window. Tonight, we visit the graves of the beloved actors who brought that family to life and who have since passed away, where they rest and how they got there. Let's begin, one familiar face at a time. We begin with the beloved patriarch, whose warm, gravelly wisdom anchored the entire Walton family, a man whose real life was every bit as principled as the grandfather he played. Will Geer played Zebulon, Grandpa Walton, the twinkling, mischievous, deeply wise old man who tended the mountain and dispensed hard-won wisdom to his grandchildren, one of the most beloved grandfathers in the history of television. He was born in Indiana in 1902, and he was a genuine polymath, a trained botanist who loved plants his whole life, as well as a passionate and committed actor and political activist. His activism came at a terrible cost. During the Red Scare of the 1950s, Will Geer was blacklisted from Hollywood for refusing to cooperate with the House Un-American Activities Committee, and for years he could not find work in film or television, supporting his family by starting a plant nursery and performing in small theaters. It was a principled stand that cost him nearly a decade of his career. When the blacklist finally faded, he returned to acting, and in his 70s, he found the role of a lifetime as Grandpa Walton, bringing a genuine warmth, mischief, and earthy wisdom to the part that made him beloved by millions and won him an Emmy Award. He was, by every account, as warm and wise in life as the grandfather he played, a genuine lover of nature and language, who could recite Shakespeare and identify wildflowers with equal ease, and who brought that authentic earthiness to Grandpa Walton. His years on the blacklist had never embittered him. He emerged from that dark decade with his warmth and his principles intact, and he poured both into the mountain patriarch, making Grandpa a figure of gentle mischief, deep tenderness, and hard-won wisdom that felt entirely real. He and Helen Corby, who played his wife, shared a genuine chemistry and a real affection that shone through every scene, and together they gave the show its beloved grandparents, the old roots from which the whole Walton family grew. Geer also treasured his outdoor theatre, the Theatricum Botanicum, which he had founded during the blacklist years as a place where blacklisted artists could still work, and which became his enduring legacy, a garden and a stage devoted to Shakespeare and to the plants he loved. He worked on the Waltons until the very end of his life, beloved by his castmates, who regarded the twinkling old man as a genuine mentor and grandfather figure, much as their characters did. Will Geer died in 1978 at 76 of respiratory failure while still on the show, and his death was written into the series with great tenderness. He was cremated, and his ashes were placed at the Theatricum Botanicum, the outdoor theatre and garden he founded in Topanga, California, surrounded by the plants he loved. So the beloved Grandpa Walton rests among growing things, exactly as he would have wished. We travel now to honor the beloved matriarch's mother, the sharp-tongued, warm-hearted grandmother whose presence anchored the Walton home, played by an actress whose own courage mirrored her character's strength. Helen Corby played Esther, Grandma Walton, the stern, devout, deeply loving grandmother, whose sharp tongue concealed a boundless love for her family, a beloved fixture of the Walton household who earned 3 Emmy Awards for the role. She was born Ellen Hansen in Wisconsin in 1911, and she spent years working behind the scenes in Hollywood as a script supervisor before pursuing acting, building a long career as a character actress, and earning an Academy Award nomination for the classic film I Remember Mama before the Waltons made her a household name. As Grandma Walton, she brought a wonderful mix of flinty sternness and deep tenderness to the Mountain family, and audiences adored her. But in 1976, at the height of the show's success, Ellen Corby suffered a serious stroke that left her partially paralyzed and severely affected her speech, a devastating blow. Rather than write her out, the show and the actress made the brave choice to write the stroke into the story, and Ellen Corby returned to the Waltons, her real disability becoming part of Grandma's story, her courage and determination inspiring viewers as she fought to speak her lines. It was a remarkable act of bravery, refusing to let the stroke end her career or hide her struggle, and it moved audiences across the country who watched Grandma fight to recover her speech, just as the actress was fighting in real life. Before the Waltons, Ellen Corby had spent decades as one of Hollywood's most dependable character actresses, appearing in a great many films after her years as a script supervisor, and her Academy Award nomination for I Remember Mama had marked her as a performer of real depth and skill. But it was Grandma Walton that made her a household name and won her 3 Emmy Awards, the role of a lifetime that came to her late and that she embraced completely. Her partnership with Geer as the Mountains' beloved grandparents was one of the warmest elements of the show, the 2 seasoned performers bringing a genuine tenderness and a lived-in believability to the old couple at the heart of the family. After Geer's death, Grandma's loneliness became part of the show's story, and Ellen Corby's own courage in returning to work after her stroke gave that loneliness a genuine poignancy that audiences never forgot. She was, in life, a private and dignified woman of real determination and grit. Ellen Corby died in 1999 at 87 of complications from her long illness in Woodland Hills, California. She is entombed at Chapel of the Pines Crematory in Los Angeles. Her resting place is quiet, and the beloved Grandma Walton, whose real courage in the face of her stroke moved a nation, rests now largely unvisited. Her flinty warmth and her genuine bravery remembered fondly by all who cherish the beloved show. We travel now to honor the beloved father of the Walton family, the strong, steady, hard-working man whose quiet strength held the Mountain family together through the hardest of times. Ralph Waite played John Walton, the family patriarch, a man of few words and deep principle who ran the family sawmill and raised 7 children with his wife Olivia through the Depression and the war. One of the most beloved television fathers of his era. He was born in White Plains, New York in 1928, and he served in the Marines and worked as a social worker and a minister before turning to acting. A thoughtful and serious man who brought real depth and gravity to the role of John Walton. As the steady, principled father of Walton's Mountain, he anchored the show with his quiet strength, his unwavering decency, and his deep love for his family, and audiences came to see him as the very model of a good father. Off-screen, Ralph Waite was a man of genuine conviction who struggled with and overcame alcoholism, becoming a passionate advocate for recovery, and who ran for Congress several times, driven by the same social conscience that had led him to the ministry and social work. He was a serious artist and a principled man, deeply respected by his castmates, who regarded him as a real father figure, much as their characters did. He continued acting for decades, beloved in many later roles, including memorable recurring parts on popular series long after the Waltons had ended. A respected working actor to the very end of his life. His journey to acting had been unusual and serious. He had studied theology and worked as a minister and a social worker before the stage claimed him, and he brought that same moral seriousness and social conscience to everything he did, both on screen and off. His own battle with alcoholism, which he overcame and then spoke about openly to help others, gave him a hard-won wisdom and humility that infused his portrayal of John Walton with genuine depth. His castmates, the young actors who played his children, came to regard Ralph Waite as a real father figure, a steady and caring presence who looked after them off camera as devotedly as John Walton looked after his family on screen, and the affection between them was genuine and lifelong. He ran for Congress more than once, driven by the same conviction that had led him to the ministry. A man who believed deeply in service and decency. Whether or not he won those races, he never stopped trying to live by his principles. Ralph Waite died in 2014 at 85, in Palm Desert, California, having lived a long and principled life. He is buried at Desert Memorial Park in Cathedral City, California. His grave is quiet, and the beloved John Walton, whose quiet strength and deep decency made him one of television's great fathers, rests now largely unvisited his steady warmth and his genuine conviction remembered fondly by all who grew up watching him hold his mountain family together. We travel now to honor one of the two beloved spinster sisters of Walton's Mountain, whose gentle eccentricity and homemade recipe brought warmth and comedy to the beloved show. Mary Jackson played Emily Baldwin, one of the two sweet, genteel, gloriously eccentric Baldwin sisters whose innocent devotion to their late father's recipe, a potent homemade liquor they never quite understood was moonshine, brought gentle comedy and warmth to Walton's Mountain across the run of the show. She was born in Wisconsin in 1910, and she spent years as a stage actress, building a long and respected theatrical career before becoming a familiar character actress on television, bringing her gentle warmth to many roles before finding lasting fame as one of the beloved Baldwin sisters. As Miss Emily, the sweeter and more romantic of the two elderly sisters, forever recalling her lost love, Ashley Longworth, and forever offering visitors a glass of the recipe, Mary Jackson created a character of pure, innocent, gentle charm, and audiences adored the Baldwin sisters and their genteel, oblivious sweetness. The two sisters became one of the most beloved recurring elements of the show, a source of warmth and gentle humor that embodied the kindness of the mountain community. In real life, Mary Jackson was a thoughtful, cultured, and independent woman, a respected working actress who brought genuine craft to her gentle, eccentric roles across a long career. The Baldwin sisters, Emily and Mamie, became one of the most beloved recurring elements of the Waltons. Their genteel southern manners, their faded gentility, and their cheerful, innocent obliviousness to the fact that their beloved father's recipe was, in truth, potent moonshine, providing gentle comedy and warmth across the run of the show. As Miss Emily, the more romantic and dreamy of the two sisters, forever recalling her long-lost suitor Ashley Longworth, and forever hoping he might one day return, Mary Jackson created a character of pure innocence and tender longing, and audiences adored her. She and Helen Kleeb, who played her sister Mamie, developed a genuine partnership and a real affection that made the two sisters feel like family, and their scenes together were among the most cherished in the series. Before the Waltons, Mary Jackson had built a long and respected career on the stage and in television, a seasoned professional who understood exactly how to make the gentle, oblivious Miss Emily both funny and genuinely touching. She brought a lifetime of craft to what might have been a mere comic caricature, and made her instead one of the beloved souls of Walton's Mountain. Mary Jackson died in 2005 at 95, of natural causes, in Los Angeles, having enjoyed a long life and a long career. She was cremated. Her resting place is quiet, and the beloved Miss Emily Baldwin, whose gentle, innocent sweetness and whose devotion to the recipe delighted audiences for years, rests now largely unvisited. Her genteel warmth and her charming eccentricity remembered fondly by all who cherish the beloved show and the kindly community of Walton's Mountain. We travel now to honor the second of the beloved Baldwin sisters, the more formidable and practical of the two genteel spinsters, whose innocent moonshine and old-fashioned graces charmed a generation. Helen Kleeb played Mamie Baldwin, the more sensible and slightly sterner of the two elderly Baldwin sisters, the practical counterpart to her romantic sister Emily, the two of them forever offering their innocent guests a glass of their father's potent recipe on Walton's Mountain. She was born in California in 1907, and she was a long-time, dependable character actress who appeared in a great many films and television programs across her long career, a familiar face to audiences before and during her beloved run as one of the Baldwin sisters. As Miss Mamie, the more grounded and matter-of-fact of the two sisters, she provided the perfect gentle contrast to Emily's romantic dreaminess, the two of them together forming one of the most beloved and charming recurring pairs in the history of the show. The Baldwin sisters, with their genteel manners, their faded southern gentility, and their cheerful obliviousness to the true nature of their famous recipe, embodied the warmth and the eccentric kindness of the mountain community, and audiences adored them. In real life, Helen Kleeb was a seasoned and respected character actress, a dependable professional who brought genuine warmth and skill to her many roles across decades of steady work in film and television. As Miss Mamie, the more sensible, practical, and grounded of the two Baldwin sisters, she provided the perfect gentle contrast to her sister Emily's romantic dreaminess. The two of them forming one of the most beloved and charming recurring pairs in the entire history of the show. Together, they embodied the eccentric kindness and the faded southern gentility of the mountain community, forever welcoming visitors into their home and offering them a glass of the famous recipe with genuine hospitality and complete innocence as to its true and potent nature. It was a running joke that never grew old, precisely because Helen Kleeb and Mary Jackson played the sisters with such sincerity and such warmth, never winking at the audience, always utterly believable in their genteel obliviousness. Helen Kleeb's decades of experience as a character actress gave her the skill to make Miss Mamie both comic and genuinely dignified. A proud old woman clinging to the graces of a vanished world, and audiences loved her for it. She was, behind the character, a warm and capable professional, beloved by her castmates. The two Baldwin sisters became so cherished that they remained part of the show for its entire run. Helen Kleeb died in 2003, at 96, of natural causes in Woodland Hills, California, having enjoyed a long life and a long and busy career. She was cremated, her resting place is quiet, and the beloved Miss Mamie Baldwin, whose sensible warmth and whose gentle partnership with her sister Emily delighted audiences for years, rests now largely unvisited. Her genteel dignity and her charming presence, remembered fondly by all who cherish the beloved show and the kindly, eccentric community of Walton's Mountain. We travel now to honor the pretentious, dramatic, socially aspiring wife of the general store owner, a wonderfully comic and warm-hearted figure of Walton's Mountain. Ronnie Claire Edwards played Corobeth Godsey, the pretentious, dramatic, socially aspiring wife of the general store owner Ike Godsey, a wonderfully comic and ultimately warm-hearted character who brought both humor and pathos to Walton's Mountain. She was born in Oklahoma in 1931, and she was a gifted and versatile actress of stage and screen, who brought a wonderful comic sensibility and a genuine depth to the role of Corobeth. The cousin of Olivia Walton, who married the storekeeper Ike and spent the series putting on airs, longing for a more refined and cultured life than the mountain could offer. As Corobeth, Ronnie Claire Edwards created a character who was often comic in her pretensions and her dramatics, but who was also, at heart, a lonely and yearning woman, and the actress brought real humanity to what could have been merely a figure of fun, making Corobeth genuinely beloved. She was a talented writer as well as an actress, a cultured and intelligent woman who understood exactly how to balance Corobeth's comedy and her pathos, and who brought genuine artistry to a role that a lesser performer might have played merely for laughs. Corobeth Godsey, the cousin of Olivia Walton, who married the mild-mannered storekeeper Ike and spent the series putting on airs and longing for a more refined and cultured life than the mountain could offer, was one of the show's great comic creations. But Ronnie Claire Edwards made her far more than a figure of fun. Beneath Corobeth's pretensions and her dramatics, the actress found a lonely, yearning woman, a soul who dreamed of poetry and elegance and a wider world, and who was, in her own thwarted way, genuinely touching. Her comic timing was impeccable, and her scenes with Joe Conley as her patient, long-suffering husband Ike were among the most delightful in the series, the two of them forming one of the show's most beloved and funny couples. But it was the depth beneath the comedy, the genuine humanity Edwards brought to Corobeth's loneliness and her longing, that made the character truly beloved rather than merely amusing. She was a gifted and versatile artist who understood her character completely. Ronnie Claire Edwards died in 2016 at 83 in Los Angeles, having enjoyed a long and respected career on stage and screen. Her resting place is private. And so the beloved Corobeth Godsey, whose comic pretensions and genuine yearning brought both laughter and warmth to Walton's Mountain, rests now largely out of public view. Her wonderful comic timing and her surprising depth, remembered fondly by all who cherish the beloved show and the vivid community of characters who made the mountain feel like home. We travel now to honor the beloved general store owner himself, the kindly, patient, good-hearted merchant who was the hub of the Waltons mountain community. Joe Conley played Ike Godsey, the amiable, easygoing owner of the general store and post office that served as the social center of Walton's Mountain, one of the most beloved recurring characters on the show. He was born in Buffalo, New York, in 1928, and he served in the Army before pursuing an acting career, becoming a dependable character actor on television, before finding his lasting and most beloved role as the kindly storekeeper Ike. As Ike Godsey, the patient, good-natured merchant who dispensed goods, gossip, and gentle friendship from behind his counter, and who endured with good humor the social climbing and dramatics of his wife Beth, Joe Conley created a character of pure, warm-hearted decency, the very picture of the small-town shopkeeper who knows everyone and helps everyone. The general store was the crossroads of the mountain community, and Ike was its steady, welcoming heart, a beloved figure whose kindness embodied the spirit of Walton's Mountain. In real life, Joe Conley was a warm, genuine, and well-liked man, a dependable professional who cherished his years on the beloved show and remained close to his castmates for the rest of his life. Ike Godsey's general store and post office served as the social crossroads of Walton's Mountain, the place where the whole community gathered to shop, to collect their mail, to catch up on the news, and to share in the small dramas of daily life. And Ike, standing patiently behind his counter, was the steady, welcoming heart of it all. Joe Conley brought to the role a genuine good nature and an easygoing warmth that made Ike one of the most beloved figures on the mountain. A kind and decent man who helped his neighbors, endured with gentle good humor the social climbing and dramatics of his wife Beth, and embodied the neighborly spirit that was at the very core of the show. His partnership with Ronnie Claire Edwards as the mismatched but loving Godseys gave the series some of its warmest comedy, and audiences adored the patient storekeeper and his pretentious, yearning wife. Before the Waltons, Joe Conley had served in the Army and built a steady career as a character actor, and he cherished his years on the mountain as the great blessing of his professional life, remaining devoted to his castmates and to the show's legacy of decency and warmth. Joe Conley died in 2013 at 85 of complications from dementia in Newbury Park, California. His resting place is quiet. And so the beloved Ike Godsey, whose patient good nature and whose welcoming general store were at the very heart of Walton's Mountain, rests now largely unvisited. His warm-hearted decency and his gentle friendship remembered fondly by all who cherish the beloved show and the kindly community that gathered at his store. We travel now to honor the young, earnest minister of Walton's Mountain, played in one of his first major roles by an actor who would become one of television's most beloved comedians. John Ritter played the Reverend Matthew Fordwick, the young, earnest, good-hearted minister of Walton's Mountain in the early seasons of the show, a warm and beloved recurring character in what was one of the first major roles of a beloved actor who would go on to great fame. He was born in Burbank, California, in 1948, the son of the country music star Tex Ritter, and he was a gifted young actor at the start of what would become a celebrated career when he took the role of the earnest young Reverend Fordwick on the Waltons. As the kindly minister who guided his mountain congregation with youthful sincerity and genuine warmth, courted and married the schoolteacher Miss Hunter, and brought a gentle, spiritual heart to the community, John Ritter created a beloved early character, and the role helped launch a career that would soon make him one of the most beloved comedians in television history. He went on to enormous fame as the star of the hit sitcom Three's Company, becoming one of the greatest physical comedians of his generation, beloved by millions. But John Ritter's life was cut tragically short. In 2003, while working on another hit series, he died suddenly of an undiagnosed aortic dissection at just 54 years old, a shocking loss that devastated his fans and colleagues. As the earnest young minister who guided his mountain congregation with youthful sincerity, who courted and married the schoolteacher Miss Hunter, and who brought a gentle spiritual heart to the community, John Ritter created a warm and beloved early character, and the role was one of the important steps on his way to stardom. He went on to enormous fame as the star of the hit sitcom Three's Company, becoming one of the greatest physical comedians of his generation. A performer of extraordinary gifts whose brilliant pratfalls and impeccable timing drew comparisons to the great silent film comedians, and whose warmth made him beloved by millions. He won an Emmy Award for that beloved role, and after the show ended, he continued to work steadily, enjoying a genuine career resurgence late in life as the star of a new hit sitcom and endearing himself to a whole new generation of fans. He was, by every account, one of the kindest and most well-liked people in all of show business, a generous and warm-hearted man cherished by everyone who worked with him. But John Ritter's life was cut tragically short. In 2003, while working on his new series, he fell ill on the set and died that same night of an undiagnosed aortic dissection, a tear in the heart's main artery, at just 54 years old. A sudden and shocking loss that devastated his fans and his colleagues and the entire entertainment world. He is buried at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in the Hollywood Hills. The beloved young Reverend Fordwick, who went on to become one of television's greatest and most beloved comedians before his tragic early death, rests now largely unvisited, his warmth and his brilliant comic gift remembered fondly by all who loved him. We travel now to honor the gentle schoolteacher who taught the Walton children and brought learning and grace to the one-room schoolhouse of Walton's Mountain. Maricair Costello played Miss Rosemary Hunter, the kind and dedicated schoolteacher of Walton's Mountain in the early seasons, who taught the Walton children and eventually married the young Reverend Fordwick, a warm and beloved recurring character. She was born in Illinois in 1936, and she was a respected actress of stage, film, and television, who brought genuine warmth and intelligence to the role of the mountain schoolteacher. As Miss Hunter, the dedicated young teacher who cared deeply for her pupils and who found love with the earnest young minister, Maricair Costello created a gentle and beloved character who embodied the value the Waltons placed on education and learning, a warm presence in the early years of the show. As Miss Hunter, the dedicated young teacher who cared deeply for her pupils and who found love with the earnest young Reverend Fordwick, Maricair Costello created a gentle and beloved character who embodied the value the Waltons placed on education, learning, and the life of the mind, a warm and graceful presence in the early years of the show. She brought a genuine intelligence and tenderness to the role, and her romance with the young minister, the Reverend Fordwick, was one of the sweet and gentle threads of those early seasons, a reminder that Walton's Mountain was a place where love and learning and faith all had their honored place. The one-room schoolhouse she presided over was one of the settings where the show's deep respect for education and for the aspirations of the young Walton children, especially the writerly dreams of John Boy, came most warmly to life. And Miss Hunter, as the dedicated teacher who nurtured those dreams, was an important part of that. She was patient and kind with her pupils, encouraging and gentle, the very picture of the beloved teacher who sees the promise in a child and helps it grow. Before and after her time on the mountain, she enjoyed a long and respected career on the stage, in film and in television, a serious and accomplished actress admired by her colleagues. However, it must be noted honestly and gladly that Maricair Costello is, at the time of this recording, still living, enjoying her retirement after a long and respected career, and so, gratefully, she has no grave for us to visit. We honor her here as a beloved part of the Waltons family and celebrate that her story continues. One of the cherished figures of Walton's Mountain, whose warmth helped make the show beloved, and we are glad indeed to be able to say that this particular beloved teacher is happily still with us, a living link to the mountain community that so many of us hold dear in memory, and a reminder that not every story on this journey has yet reached its final chapter. We travel now to honor the warm and talkative proprietor of the local boarding house in the early seasons, a familiar and kindly presence in the Waltons Mountain community. Nora Marlowe played Flossie Brimmer, the warm and talkative proprietor of the local boarding house in the early seasons of the show, a familiar and kindly presence in the Waltons Mountain community. She was born in 1915, and she was a dependable and busy character actress who appeared in a great many films and television programs across her career. bringing her warmth and skill to a wide variety of roles before and during her time on the Waltons. As Mrs. Brimmer, the friendly, gossipy, good-hearted woman who ran the boarding house and was part of the fabric of the mountain community, Nora Marlowe brought a genuine warmth and a homey familiarity to the show. One of the many vivid supporting characters who made Walton's Mountain feel like a real and living place. She was a seasoned professional whose long career had included many memorable roles, a reliable and well-liked character actress of her generation. As Mrs. Brimmer, the friendly, talkative, good-hearted woman who ran the boarding house and was woven into the fabric of the mountain community, Nora Marlowe brought a genuine warmth and a homey familiarity to the show, one of the many vivid supporting characters who made Walton's Mountain feel like a real and living place rather than a mere television set. She was a seasoned professional whose long career had included a great many memorable roles across film and television, a dependable and versatile character actress who could bring life and truth to even the smallest part, and audiences recognized and welcomed her familiar face. The boarding house she ran was one of the gathering places of the mountain, a spot where travelers stayed and where the news and gossip of the community passed from mouth to mouth, and Mrs. Brimmer, at its center, was a warm and reassuring presence. Nora Marlowe was, in her decades of steady work, exactly the kind of reliable, gifted character actress on whom every good television series depends. The familiar faces who fill out a world and make it believable, and she brought that gift to Walton's Mountain with genuine warmth. Sadly, she was one of the members of the Waltons family to pass away during the actual run of the series. Nora Marlowe died in 1977 at 61 of a heart ailment while the show was still on the air, a real loss to the cast and crew during the production of the beloved series. Her resting place is quiet. And so the beloved Flossie Brimmer, whose warm and gossipy presence helped bring the boarding house and the mountain community to life, rests now largely forgotten, her homey warmth and her genuine character remembered mainly by the devoted fans who still cherish the beloved show, and every warm and familiar face who made Walton's Mountain feel like home. We travel now to honor the good-natured, easygoing, perpetually scheming local handyman of Walton's Mountain, a beloved recurring figure whose gentle comedy made him a favorite. Robert Donner played Yancey Tucker, the good-natured, easygoing, perpetually scheming local handyman and jack-of-all-trades of Walton's Mountain, a beloved recurring character whose gentle comedy and warm heart made him a favorite. He was born in New York in 1931, and he was a prolific and dependable character actor who appeared in a great many films and television westerns and dramas across his long career. A familiar face to audiences before and during his beloved run as Yancey on the Waltons. As Yancey Tucker, the amiable local fellow forever cooking up some harmless scheme or half-baked plan, forever good-hearted beneath his laziness, Robert Donner created a warm and comic character who was part of the enduring charm of the mountain community, a gentle source of humor and heart. He was a beloved and familiar presence on the show, one of the vivid local characters who made Walton's Mountain feel alive. As Yancey Tucker, the amiable local fellow forever cooking up some harmless scheme or half-baked plan, forever good-hearted beneath his laziness and his tall tales, Robert Donner created a warm and comic character who was part of the enduring charm of the mountain community, a gentle and beloved source of humor and heart across the run of the show. Yancey was the kind of character every small town seems to have, the likable ne'er-do-well whose schemes never quite work out, but whose heart is always in the right place. And Robert Donner played him with such warmth and such good humor that audiences took him to their hearts. Before and during his beloved run on the Waltons, Donner was one of Hollywood's most prolific and dependable character actors, appearing in a great many films and television westerns and dramas, a familiar face to audiences across decades of steady work, particularly in the western genre where his distinctive presence was much in demand. He was, in real life, a warm, funny, and genuinely well-liked man, a dependable professional, and a good friend to many in the business, and he shared a particularly close and lifelong friendship with the actor and director Clint Eastwood, appearing in a number of Eastwood's films over the years. He was, by every account, exactly as good-natured and warm-hearted as the beloved Yancey he played. Robert Donner died in 2006 at 75 of a heart attack in Ojai, California. His resting place is quiet. And so the beloved Yancey Tucker, whose good-natured, scheming and warm heart delighted audiences for years, rests now largely unvisited, his gentle comedy and his genuine warmth remembered fondly by all who cherish the beloved show and the vivid, kindly community of Walton's Mountain. We travel now to honor the steady, fair-minded county lawman who kept the peace on Walton's Mountain with wisdom and compassion, a beloved, recurring figure across the run of the show. John Crawford, who played Sheriff Ep Bridges, the steady, fair-minded lawman of the county who kept the peace with wisdom and compassion, a beloved recurring character across the run of the show. He was born in 1920, and he was a prolific and dependable character actor who appeared in a great many films and television programs across a long and busy career, bringing his solid, authoritative presence to countless roles before and during his beloved run as Sheriff Bridges. As Ep Bridges, the fair and compassionate lawman who understood his community and tempered justice with mercy, John Crawford created a steady and beloved character who embodied the decency of the mountain world, a reassuring presence whose wisdom and fairness made him a trusted figure in the Walton's Mountain community. He was a familiar and welcome face across the run of the beloved show. As Ep Bridges, the fair and compassionate lawman who understood his community deeply and who tempered justice with mercy, John Crawford created a steady and beloved character who embodied the fundamental decency of the mountain world, a reassuring presence whose wisdom, patience, and fairness made him a trusted and respected figure throughout the Walton's Mountain community. The sheriff was the kind of lawman every community hopes for, a man who knew his neighbors, who understood that the law must sometimes bend to compassion, and who kept the peace not through force but through wisdom and genuine care for the people he served. And John Crawford brought all of that to the role with a quiet, grounded authority. Before and during his beloved run on the Waltons, John Crawford was one of the most prolific and dependable character actors in the business, appearing in an enormous number of films and television programs across a long and busy career that spanned decades, a solid and versatile presence whom directors trusted with a wide range of roles. He brought that lifetime of experience and craft to Sheriff Bridges, making him feel like a real and rooted member of the mountain community, rather than a mere plot device. One of the many vivid supporting figures who gave Walton's Mountain its sense of being a genuine, living place. He was, in real life, a seasoned and respected professional, well liked by his colleagues, and admired for his reliability and his craft. John Crawford died in 2010 at 90, in California, having enjoyed a long life and a long and busy career. His resting place is quiet, and so the beloved Sheriff Ep Bridges, whose steady wisdom and compassionate fairness made him a trusted figure on the mountain, rests now largely unvisited, his solid decency and his reassuring presence remembered fondly by all who cherish the beloved show. We travel now to honor the creator and narrator whose voice and vision defined the entire show, the man who drew Walton's Mountain from the memories of his own childhood. Earl Hamner Jr. was not an actor who appeared on screen, but his was perhaps the most important voice in the entire series, for he created the Waltons, based it on his own childhood, and served as the beloved off-screen narrator whose warm, reflective voice opened and closed every episode. He was born in Schuyler, Virginia, in 1923, and the show was drawn directly from his own upbringing. In a large, close family in rural Virginia during the Depression, with the character of John Boy, the aspiring writer, based on Hamner himself. His warm, distinctive voice, speaking as the grown John Boy looking back on his childhood, framed every episode of the show, beginning each story and ending each night with the family's beloved chorus of good nights, and it was Hamner's genuine love for his own family and his Virginia home that gave the entire series its heart and its authenticity. He was a gifted and successful writer who created other beloved shows as well, but The Waltons, drawn from his own life, was his masterpiece and his gift to America. His narration was the very soul of the show, the warm and reflective thread that tied every episode together, and it was drawn from the deepest wells of his own memory and love. The character of John Boy, the sensitive, aspiring young writer at the heart of the family, was based directly on Earl Hamner himself, on the boy he had been in Schuyler, Virginia, scribbling in his notebooks and dreaming of becoming a writer, while his large, close, loving family worked and struggled and endured through the hard years of the Depression. Everything that audiences loved about the Waltons, its warmth, its authenticity, its deep sense of family and place, flowed from the fact that Hamner was not inventing a fantasy, but remembering a truth, honoring the real people who had raised him and the real mountain community that had shaped him. He had first told their story in a novel, which became a film, which became the beloved series, and across all of it he served as the guiding voice and vision, the grown John Boy, looking back with love and gratitude on the family that made him. He was a gifted and successful writer who created other beloved television series as well, but The Waltons, drawn from his own cherished childhood, was his masterpiece and his gift to America, a loving monument to family, faith, and the enduring strength of ordinary people. Earl Hamner Jr. died in 2016 at 92 of cancer in Los Angeles, having given the world one of its most beloved television families, drawn directly from his own cherished memories of home. He was cremated. And so the beloved creator and narrator, whose warm voice and whose genuine love for his own Virginia family gave the Waltons its enduring heart, rests now with no public grave, his gentle narration and his loving vision, living on in every episode of the beloved show. He drew from the memories of his own childhood, on the mountain, and in the chorus of good nights that closes every story he ever told us. Beloved actors of the Waltons, resting across America, from the gardens of Topanga to the cemeteries of Los Angeles to quiet places far from any spotlight. What connects them is the warmth they brought to one of television's most beloved families. Some, like Geer and Ralph Waite, brought real principle and conviction to their roles, men whose lives were as decent as the characters they played. Some, like Corby, showed extraordinary courage, writing her own stroke into the story and inspiring a nation. And some, like John Ritter, went on to further fame before tragedy took them far too soon. They gave us Walton's Mountain, a place of hard work and forgiveness and love, and they made millions of us feel, for an hour at a time, like part of that big, warm, enduring family gathered under one roof. What we can do, tonight and every night, is remember them. Watch the show again, say their names. Think of the specific ground where each of them lies, or the gardens and the quiet places that hold those who left no public grave. It costs us nothing, and it is the one thing we can still offer the actors who gave us so much warmth. They gathered us on the mountain and taught us to say goodnight. The least we can do is not forget where they came to rest. Thank you for walking with me. Rest well, and if you pass a cemetery in the coming week and you have a moment, stop and read a name. Any name. Someone was loved, once, who is buried there. It costs us nothing, and it may be the only thing that keeps any of us from disappearing entirely. Good night, friends. Good night, John Boy.